It's just some means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Hello, book clubbers. Oh, can I tell you, I needed that dance this morning. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I needed that dance. It was my 6-year-old's birthday yesterday. She turned 6. Took a lot out of me. I'm Jeff Cannata. I'm here with Lana Bushinsky. Hi, Lana.
Hello. I always need that dance, and I have no small children. I just have no energy.
Well,
a default state.
I hope everybody watching got a chance to get a little groove. It feels good in the morning. Feels good to move, even if you're just in your seat. We have a lot to get through this episode. We're doing 3 chapters this week, which used to not feel like a lot, but now there's so much. There's so much to get through. It's chapters 12, 13, and 14 of Midnight Tides, which we are going to dive into shortly. But we always start the show with a non-spoiler topic. And we have gotten some fantastic suggestions from you, which is the best way this could possibly go. We want to hear what you want to talk about in the non-spoiler topic. So please keep those coming. You can post them as comments on YouTube. You can post them in our Discord, which is 5x5 DLC on Discord. You can send them to us via email at dlcfeedback@gmail.com. However you'd like to give it to us, we're happy. So this one actually comes as a post on the YouTube from last week. This comes from Bobbitthehobbit. Great username. Love that username. Bobbitthehobbit says, topic for next week's non-spoiler. How about favorite audiobook narrator? Favorite audiobook narrator. We've talked a little bit about audiobooks in the past. I'm a fan of audiobooks. I've done 2 audiobooks. My favorite audiobook narrator is me.
That's what I was going to say.
No.
Other than Jeff Cannata, number 1 audiobook narrator in this podcast right now. I feel like I keep being like, oh, I'm like new to audiobooks, but it's been, 4 years of listening to them. So I definitely start having some preferences, but just because of this comment is the first time I've really looked them up. But there's one favorite audiobook narrator that rises to the top. Don't even have to look them up. You never forget your first audiobook narrator. And it was Tim Curry for Sabriel. Still, thus far, unbeatable. His combination of soft differences between characters, soft dialect changes between characters, and beautiful, velvety, sweet, just narration voice throughout the whole thing. It's incredible. It is so good. If you have not listened to Sabriel, voiced by Tim Curry, I cannot recommend it highly enough.
I mean, the idea of being able to listen to an audiobook narrated by Frankenfurter himself, it's astounding.
Yeah.
Time is fleeting. That kind of thing. Actually, he's not the person who says that. Whatever. The point is, amazing that Tim Curry did an audiobook at all. Is that the only one he's done, or do you know if he's done others?
I actually haven't looked up if he's done others. He doesn't actually even do the full series. There's I think there's 6 sort of books within the Sabriel verse. I think there's an actual name for the world that they're in. I think he only does the first 3 or 2. But I haven't looked up if he does more. I can look it up now, but maybe if anybody else has heard Tim Curry do a book, let me know. I would listen to it just to listen to Tim Curry do the
I think that's totally a viable method of choosing the next thing to listen to. I honestly feel like a great book can be a bad listen if there's not a great narrator, and a mediocre book can be a great listen with a great narrator. Yes. I think a great narrator can elevate mediocre material into something very compelling and fun to listen to. Case in point, I mean, save your angry emails, but I think I don't think very highly of the Harry Potter series personally. They're fun. They're fun books. They're, the world building is wonderful.
The same page as you.
Fun universe, really delightful details in all the world building. I don't think the plots are very strong. However, listening to Jim Dale do the audiobooks for Harry Potter is worth it in and of itself. Jim Dale is incredible. And I believe strongly that some of the actors that were cast in the film versions based their character on Jim Dale's audiobook narration of that character.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think McGonagall in particular, like he decided how she sounds. And then, what's her name? The amazing actress who played Professor McGonagall. Anyway, I think she based it on it. I don't know that to be true, but
maybe he based his audiobook version on Maggie Smith.
Maybe. And then she got cast.
And then she got cast. And then
Yeah.
and because his impression was so good, that was like just too obvious.
It's possible. But I mean, Maggie Smith doesn't have like thick Scottish brogue, and he gives her that. Anyway, he's fantastic. And if, I when those books were coming out and they were super in the zeitgeist and like everybody was talking about them, I read a couple, but then I started listening to the audiobooks and I was like, oh, this is the way to enjoy these because he's fantastic. I've also just discovered a new audiobook narrator who's done a ton of stuff. And I just started listening to a book he's doing. And I think this dude is amazing. His name is Ewan Morton, E-U-A-N, Ewan Morton. He's done a ton of stuff. He does a bunch of the Jim Butcher books. Jim Butcher has a bunch of series and he does a bunch of those, but he's done like all kinds of things. He does a bunch of Halo books and Star Wars and all kinds of things. The one that I just started listening to recently is a book called The Will of the Many by James Islington. And his audio narration is superb. His diction, the way he pronounces every letter of a word. And I really appreciate that. Everything is so precise, but he also does great voices. He's not doing Jim Dale like wild voices, but he does distinct character voices. And I'm so impressed with this guy. I really think he's excellent at it.
I really have come to love audiobook narrators that don't feel the need to go like too wild between different voices, because it really is amazing how like
that's not me.
I guess it depends. I guess I'm more like enamored with like how subtle the differences can be and how much my brain is able to still keep the characters straight by just hearing even the subtle changes in the voices. It's great. Let me tell you, an author who doesn't do that exactly and certainly doesn't pronounce every letter of every word. I just started listening to recently The Black Tongue Thief.
Oh, I read that book. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Christopher Buehlman.
Yeah, so fun. Such a fun
narrates
book.
it.
Oh, he
also
does?
does the audiobook. And oh man, now I don't want to. He just like talks in his voice. His voice is like the character voice, but it's so matter of fact. I have to do this quickly because
you're saying this as a positive or
as
a negative?
A positive.
Oh, great! Yeah.
He's so funny.
The book is very funny too. I love how funny the book is. I really enjoyed that novel. I read it. I didn't listen to it, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. Yeah. I think there's going to be a sequel too.
Whoa. So I just Googled this because Christopher Buehlman is from Florida. The narration for the book is like thick Irish accent.
Well, maybe he's a transplant to Florida.
I just looked at somebody else saying, I cannot believe Christopher Buehlman isn't Irish.
Oh,
Turns out he's from Florida, native Floridian. I would have bet money he's an Irishman. Very cool. Did not realize that. Dang, what a performance. It's like so matter of fact, and it's like it's really in the thief's voice, but he's just kind of like, here's what I'm doing. I'm going there. Oh my gosh, that guy. I should give that guy a name. Oh, he's dead. I'm not going to give him a name. I'll call him Shovel or whatever. But like, it's so funny and like, casual in a way that is like, and like, it feels like it is driving ahead. It feels like somebody is telling me a story in a pub about a crazy journey that they've been on. I really love it. It's
a fun novel also because the main character is like what usually is the side character in any other story.
Yeah.
It's like the the goofy, wacky side character gets their own main character story, and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, if you read the comments on Audible about my narration, not to talk about me more, but my narration, it vacillates between Jeff Kanata's voices are amazing to like, this guy's a bit much. I don't know if I had to turn this off because of this guy. It's a bit much.
I'm telling you.
Love me or hate me. What do you?
Let me tell you, still number one audiobook narrator in this meeting right now.
Hey,
that's just true.
I'll
That's
take
just
it.
true.
You know what? I'll take it. All right. Well, that was going to be our short topic, but here we it was too much fun to talk about. We have 3 chapters to get to.
Thanks for the question, Bob the Hobbit.
Thank you, Bob at the Hobbit. I didn't mean to take the question from you, or as I would call it, rob it from Bob at the Hobbit. We're going to jump right into the 3 chapters. And so that means spoilers starting right now. So chapter 12 of Midnight Tides. We start with our boy Tehol. And basically we're in the mechanism of this plan, this plot that he and Bug are hatching. Bug is like, hey, I got things to do. I'm going to go meet with the royal engineer. we're set up this safe house for Shirk. The gears are grinding. We're moving forward.
Yeah. Is this the chapter where it's like, oh, you need to tell me what you're doing today? And he's like, I'm doing these 50 things. And Taylor's like, well, I might take a nap.
Yeah, I'm going to go to bed.
But if you can like really tidy up because you don't have anything else on your plate,
it's so
please get on it.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to check on these people. I'm going to make sure that's happening. What are you doing, master? I'm going to go to bed. So good. So good. Then we have a series of scenes with different characters that I just so delicious because it's, Letharos is basically this stand-in for capitalism, for I think of as America writ large. And you can't have capitalism without bureaucracy, Yeah. And I feel like we just get a bunch of characters bumping up against these bureaucratic, these hoops they have to leap through.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun the way Erikson pokes fun at it, parodies it, heightens it, but also it feels very close to reality,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Briss goes, we jump into Briss at this administrative office trying to figure out how many people have died recently. And it's just that exact situation of like, running into trying to get solid information from any individual in the government, It's
like, well,
so funny.
Who can really keep the records? Well,
Yeah.
It used to be in a different format, and so we'd have to go check the other format, but it's actually in the middle of being digitized.
Yeah. I like there's a phrase that I meant to remember, but now has escaped me, where he's like, it's in the extended shelf. And he's like, the extended shelf. He's like, yeah, that one that extends from the wall right there. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. And so he finds out that a whole lot of people have disappeared. Thousands. So like 7,000 people, give or take 3,000. The guy's like, there's this underreported. We don't know. He's like, well, who's got that contract to find out? He's like, the Rat Catchers Guild. The Rat Catchers Guild? Why would they? He's very, very efficient. They're very efficient. Efficient at this wild inefficiency you're talking about? It's just so, man, it's just tracks to real life of, we go with these people because they give us the best contract. Really? Yes, they're very expensive. They take forever and their information is inaccurate. They're the best.
And they're 0% the place that you would have looked yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So then we're off on Bug's no good, very bad, busy day. And he first stops off with the safe house with Shirk and Harlist. I love this as well. This feels so D&D to me.
Mm-hmm.
This moment of like, hey, they're dead, but you know the positive side of being dead, easy to hide them. You don't need food or water or air, you know.
And
So good.
and hiding them, and this journey down into like some tomb that he knows about. It's like even just like, oh, we found this little cave for you to hide in, and it's fine. Nobody's gonna sense you. Is like, hiding right under their noses. It's great.
Yeah, and we find out it was a Jaghut tomb that's got Fulcral Assail hieroglyphics on it and curses and all kinds of stuff. And I love how Bug is like this unassuming kind of goofy character, but he also knows everything about everything. He's just, I picked it up here and there. He like goes on this rant of knowing everything, and Shirk is like, what did you hear? All that basically like lays it out for the reader, all the stuff we've been learning in bits and pieces. Bug is like, I got it all figured out, and here it is, just said straight out. And Shirk's like, what? Where did you hear that? I said, I don't know, here and there.
Bug is striking me more and more and more as like a quick bend type, like mysteriously super powerful, but like
unassuming and
totally unassuming, and like this, like a weird side character in like his life and the way he presents himself. But like every moment that he's being like beckoned by people around the city to do different things, and there's like a gentleness about him, but also just like a vast well of knowledge from being in everything and everyone's business in this unassuming way. There's like a quick bend type, not in that I assume that he can use a bunch of warrens and he's a magical guy, but just in that he seems like there's so much to him, and he's very cool,
extraordinarily capable.
Yeah.
Understated, but over delivers.
Yes.
He's kind of like Alfred from Batman, you know, like he can do everything, is awesome.
Yeah, but if Alfred were like out on the town, Alfred, like we never see Alfred like going out and like helping the rest of the city. He really is very, very much more, you know, just in the manor.
Right.
And if Alfred
also did things,
also did stuff.
So then Bug goes to the site of the construction project, and bad things have been happening. The number of bad things at a number of the construction sites. We'll get to them as we go along. But the first one is this one was an abandoned school that collapsed. The seeping ground that his construction has addressed specifically of things sinking. Long ago, this one collapsed and killed like half of or a third of the students. And so they're literally like digging out corpses and bones of, it's just so dark. But they're turning it into a mansion because some schmuck is going to pay to live there.
It's got, the prince has to have his mini golf course.
Yeah.
And so get those bones out of here.
So funny. It's like the site of this horrible, unspeakable tragedy. And they're like, you know what this could be? A McMansion. This could really, we could turn this into something real.
Special.
We could get a sweet price on the open market for this.
Only slightly haunted.
Yeah, exactly. And so then Bug swings by the Rat Catchers Guild, the aforementioned Rat Catchers Guild, and sees all these crazy carvings of rats on the wall.
Love the picture of like walking up and being like, that's interesting. And having it be like this glorious, I can't even think of the right word for that type of like artwork.
Like a fresco
of these rats. Maybe I'm just like been so, brainwashed from like running the rat. I see rat anything and I'm like,
true.
Hey, that's me.
Riot animation team is what you're referring to.
Our community that we do live streaming and stuff is called the Rat, and anything rat related we send to each other. We've become like vermin ourselves, much like the folks we're about to meet. A wacky situation.
I can't wait. Yeah, we'll talk about that shortly. But oh my god, just coming up and all he does at the beginning is kind of meet the secretary, who's like another moment of just bureaucracy and corporate doublespeak and nonsense. They're like, we didn't do it. You didn't. There's no point in being here. You're not going to get any help. He's like, what if I give you all the money? They're like, all the money? He's like, well, within reason. He's like, then not all the money, right? So bye. It's just a fun back and forth between this like smug a-hole assistant. I imagine the prototypical Los Angeles agency where they have the receptionist whose entire job is to turn people away and has just seen everything and is so over it and can't stand being with you.
And even the implication of they're talking to you and they're not even sparing you a glance kind of thing. It's like, oh, you walked in. What?
Leave. I already know I can't help you. Just go away.
Yeah.
But Bug is unflappable. And then his solution is literally poke it in the eyes.
I'm like,
so great.
The instant mystery, because we met somebody from the Ratcatchers Guild early in the book, if I'm not mistaken, that they were like, oh my gosh, he's dead. And then he's like, what's up? And they're like, oh my gosh, why were you floating around with all these rat corpses kind of thing? He's like, well, I'm the rat catcher. And they're like, okay, man. The immediate mystery of okay, well, who is that guy? Who's this guy? And why did Bug's fingers go through their magical disguise?
Yeah. Well, my interpretation, and you could disagree, but my interpretation was the entire receptionist is an illusion. It's literally like a hologram sitting there telling people to go away, and he pokes through the eyes and you got me. I'm not even really here.
Oh, really? My interpretation is that there's some other thing that's wearing a magical disguise that is behind whatever magic. It
might be. It could definitely go either way. I'm curious what other readers, and maybe we'll get clarification in subsequent chapters, but my interpretation was some sorcerer set up this illusion to just be like, hi, welcome, can't help you. Hi, welcome, can't help you. Hi. It's the total hologram that you just you're not even real. You got me.
Oh, that's funny. I definitely... I want to emphasize here, please nobody tell us the real answer. Because we don't quite know, but we meet more of the rat catchers, and all of them seem to be not wacky. Quite what they are. I also love that
the Rat Catchers Guild runs this town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are the underbelly of everything. Nothing happens in this town without the Rat Catchers Guild giving you the thumbs up. Yes, exactly. Totally. So fun. All right. So then we go to Kurukan and Brice. And we get a lot of real, Kurukan style something is happening. He's talking about stuff. The holds, I'm not grokking it. It's hard to parse.
This is the section where he's like, the holds, they're closed to me, right?
Right. Well, he's freaking out because something big has changed. One of them is dead, and there's it's bleeding, and the others are around it. So we know that the Azath house is dead, and the Azath hold, its heartstone has died. But he also goes into other things like the dragon hold is awakened, and there's a fulcra and all this stuff. And I'm just I'm sure all that is consistent and will make sense later.
So Dragonhold is awakened. Well, there's a couple things. One, I don't know when's the right time to talk about it. Maybe I'll wait until we get more into, where we have our conversation with Kettle a little later on about who's in the ground and who's grabbing his ankle, etc.
Right.
I'll save it for then. But the Fulcra, that's the religion, the sort of dead religion of the Four-Kroll Assail. Is that correct?
I think so, yes.
So, yeah. Anyway,
here's what I have in front of me from our cheat sheet.
Okay.
The Fulcra Dolmen has been usurped by a stranger. The Azath hold, the Heartstone has died. The tomb is breached. The portal stands unguarded. And Kurakan tells Briss to go to the tower, find out what's going on, but he says, be careful, because the dragonhold has awakened. The blood drinker and the gate and the consort, something's going on with them. The errant is positioned in the center of the fulcra. The pack draws nearer. Shapefinder becomes a chimera. Also, the ice hold, the huntress walks frozen paths. The child and seed stir to life. Now, we meet the huntress later. We'll talk about her. We meet the huntress in these chapters. The child and seed, is that Trolls, the chick that stole his seed?
Is it Trolls or is it Udanas? Because that happened to Udanas too.
Oh yeah.
So I would say one of those two. Was it the same? It wasn't the same person who stole his seed, was it? Between both of them?
Was it?
I don't remember.
The gold lady?
Menendorades.
No, one of them, it was the Aaron Thal, right? Or the Aaron...
Aerosol?
Yeah. Aerosol, yeah.
One of them was definitely Menendore.
Yeah. All right, so we're nailing it. We're nailing it so far.
So, yeah, I don't want to pick it apart too much, but here's, do you want little predictions that I'm thinking?
Hit it. I'm sure you'll nail it.
I don't think that's true. But like Dragonhold, we know that like all of the, Scabandari and Silkus Ruin were both soul-taken dragons.
Yeah.
All these wraiths are waking up. Old Wither is hanging out with Udanas.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that my guess is the person who is wrapped up in the Azoth house, whose ankle's being grabbed, is Silkus Ruin.
Right, because we know they got put into the house. We know that happened. We know they got put in the house because there's nowhere else to put them, and so to keep them there.
The Dragonhold would be waking up because
Silkus Ruin is coming out of the house because the
house is dead. The usurpage of
that's solid.
The usurpage of the throne, if that like the Forcral Lasalle like house whatever is being taken over, perhaps it's like a path to power for him and he's sort of stepping in there as like the ruler, or that's like another crippled god taking over some stuff.
But we also have the empty throne, which has a shadow behind it. The savior and betrayer have coalesced.
Oh, that's the one then.
Wanderer, mistress, watcher, walker are all hidden.
Wanderer, Hull, mistress, Mayan, walker.
Oh, interesting.
Saren Pedak. I think there's people who I would, within the context of the book, cast in those roles.
Right.
Anyway,
I like it.
Yeah, just the names that sort of spring to mind that are all swirling around this. I feel like Silkus is about to be like, "What's up? Dragons be back, baby!" And we'll see. And he'll find power in some way with one of these thrones, because like trying to think about where we are in time, like we know that the Tistandi are coming out with they're the people we hanging out with the most,
right?
So my brain says Animander Reg's brothers gonna be coming back.
Coming out of the Azoth house. So then Bug goes to the gravel quarries, where another hilarious thing. This also feels very D&D to me, and I love it so very much. He's like, we're digging a hole. Guess what? We found a monster that had been trapped in that hole for who knows how long. It's killed a bunch of stonecutters. It killed a necromancer. We're not going to keep digging in this hole because there's something horrible down there. You got to figure it out. It's like total side quest,
Yeah.
You get there. It's like, well, there's a monster down there. And Bug's like, all right, I'll go down and check it out. They're like, you're going down to check it out? Are you crazy? Are you going to bring an army with you of people? Well, I got to figure out what's down there first. Let me go down. Just going to walk down there. And he meets the huntress, this jagged huntress who is naked from the waist up, she's got gray-green skin, long blonde hair, tusks, and we don't know her name or anything, but she's down there. She's like, ugh, I trapped this thing. Why are you guys digging holes and letting things out? Stop. There's a demon. I trapped it. Now it's my responsibility. It's so annoying that you guys are. And he's like, I got the perfect spot. You can put this thing, which I don't know what that is yet, but that's pretty cool.
Again, like all these moments, even the fact it didn't actually strike me until you said this out loud because of like reading the later chapters. But everywhere Bug goes, people are like, "You're going in there? Don't you want an army?" And he's like, "I'm fine." He's just like Mr. Fix-It, going around and solving these problems and having a place for everything.
Yeah.
That's like the exact conversation he has with the next group of people who beckon him to fix the problem.
Yes. He's a total fixer. He's like, he's incredibly competent, totally awesome, very unassuming, like super goofy on the surface, but like extremely capable. And I love that. So then we're with Briss, and he shows up at the Azath Tower. He's like, a building that's sentient? Come on. What? Buildings are built by people. That's how buildings are made. This is so Briss with his total like, I know how world works. How come nothing works like Briss thought world worked? It's
interesting because he is also like another super, super competent, but then these glimmers of like, man, you are out of your depth.
Yeah.
It's interesting because he has been elevated here. He's elevated himself in society to like arguably like the most honorable position.
Yeah.
But he does not have like the baseline life skills. He doesn't have the street cred of his brothers.
Yeah. He's not savvy. He's just like, I know how to follow the rules and stab what I need to stab. And he meets up with Kettle, who is like, oh, hey, awesome to see you.
You're that guy who people keep trying to kill, and I keep killing them.
Yes. I've killed so many people that have been tailing you.
Yeah.
He's like, what the what now? And she's like, my mother Shirk, my father Tehol, Uncle Ublala, and Uncle Bug. I'll say you're awesome. And he's like, oh, I know at least half of those people. And she's like, hey, do you want me to show you all the stuff that's going on? He's like, yeah. She's like, okay, close your eyes and get into your fighter focus of like, just like, think about nothing. It's like that scene in Ghostbusters, like, think about nothing. Think about nothing. Choose the form of the Destructor. He's like, did you think about nothing? He's like, I thought about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
And this is where she like grabs his hand and she's like, you can only step where I step.
Yeah. It's so good. He literally steps on the flagstone. It's like, wank. Oh, man. So Briss has a vision of seeing something we already know about, right? Which is, or we heard about, but we haven't really seen it, which is these rebel mages in time immemorium pulled the crippled god down thinking they could control him, but it caused the destruction of them and everything. Right? No?
What? Yes. Did I mute myself just for like 1 second? Sorry. I'm like sniffling a little bit, so I'm sort of hitting the mute. Yes, that is what they see, and that is what occurred.
Yes. So we see. So for some reason, the person inside the Azath house, who that we both think is
Silkus Ruin.
Silkus Ruin, thank you. Wants Briss to see the crippled god's origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Kettle's like, yeah, the crippled god is only knows pain and wants to inflict the world with pain because they only know pain.
Mm-hmm.
Consistent with what we know about the crippled god. Also, the person that I've been talking to down here would like 2 swords, please. Can you get them 2 swords? Versus like, I can do that. I know how to get swords. It's like right in that's my bailiwick right there. That's right in my wheelhouse, getting swords.
Oh, finally, something I'm familiar
Something
with.
I get.
Can get some blades, girl.
Yeah. All right. Back to Tail and Bug. They are headed to the Rat Catchers Guild, the Scale House. And this scene is incredible. Just like how much Erikson has leaned into absurdity in this novel delights me no end.
But not in such a way where it's like, I don't know how you ride the line between like absurdity and it being, I don't know, not off-putting, but like jumping the shark. It doesn't feel like, okay now. Like,
it doesn't undermine the belief and the consistency of the world, right?
It expands the fantastical feeling of it.
Yeah.
And like, even in times where we're like, we know there's like mages doing some stuff, but we're going through sort of like serious war. There's a lot of like physical slice and dice kind of stuff. There's like it takes like the undercurrent of there's magical and mystery and being like, there's magical and mystery in like a really big way that it feels comedic and engaging and not too far away from anything that feels good about the books.
That's one of the things that I'm so impressed with the Malazan novels is how it can all be there. It's all in there. This absurd, goofy, very funny and fun send up parody side, but alongside the chain of dogs, the most serious, heart-wrenching, it's all there in this world. And it's actually inspired me personally to have more confidence in that kind of juxtaposition, because like that, of course, that's how the real world is. Absurd things happen right next to completely serious, awful, whatever, inspiring, beautiful. It's all there. The spectrum is all there. Why not have it exist in fictional worlds as well? I think it's cool.
Well said. Well said.
So to that point, we walk into the Rat Catchers Guild, into a sea of rats. People just sitting in a room, letting rats just crawl all over them, in their hair, on their skin, just hanging out. The guild, the sort of high up mucky mucks of the guild.
There's like a moment briefly where they're like Rat Catchers Guild, and when he like poked the thing in the eyes, I was like, oh, maybe they are like an ancestor of Soul Taken Rat Boy from later in time. Yeah. But then this moment, and like in this scene, and then one of them like snags one and bites its head off. I was like, oh, maybe not. Maybe there's just some kind of do you have any idea like what they are?
I think they're just
some freaks.
Some freaks. Yeah, exactly. They do the thing they have to do. It's a little chicken and egg, right? Because it's like, do those kind of people do that? Are drawn to that job, or does that job turn those people into those people?
Into that, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they are. I mean, when they have this conversation and then they're debating on like who is or is not a hologram of some, like having some kind of facade upon them. Right. And they're like, 2 out of 3, I think, were not exactly what they appeared to be. But I'm like, what are they? And I don't have like a good guess other than like other giant rats or like also Wyvils, or maybe
I think they're just
wraiths.
Freaks. I think they're just real odd birds,
I think that there's something else, but I just do not have a guess. Maybe they're like creepy little what are they? The lizard people, Forkful Sail, that have just been like hiding out and just being like, yo, I was always a whelp. I was never part of like the big evil army. I'm just here to eat rats and have a good time. Like that I think is my most out there guess for like what they are. But I think they're nothing like super remarkable like that. I think they're just
That's how I just think they're like, this is the rats. This is the people that are running the city. Just real weirdos, just oddballs. And I love their names: Onyx, Sint, Ormley, Glisten, Ruby, and my favorite, Bubbeard. Bubbeard.
It sounds like what I named all my horses in Breath of the Wild.
So we find out that they're not just a rat catchers guild. They're basically an assassins guild and basically the thieves guild, and also are kind of an underground railroad for the border tribes, all the people that the Theri have driven out of existence and subjugated. They like help get them to safety. So they're also awesome.
They're the kindest, most nastiest, most sinister people.
It's totally true. Just like everything in these novels, it's like it's not one
Layers.
thing. You know, they're multifaceted. And Tejal's like, okay, here's the thing. They're like, we're going to call in the Thieves Guild's like, we're going to call in our chief investigator, and we're never going to let you leave this room. You're going to die. And he's like, classic Tejal style. It's like, but I have a bargain for you. I have a contract I'd like to offer you. He's like, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of money, and all you need to do is send all of the refugees to the islands. I'm going to buy supplies for them. We'll hook them up with supplies. You don't even have to worry about that. Also, you have to tell me how there's this many people disappearing and what that's all about.
Well, he didn't necessarily say how that, I think, but he said, you've been given numbers, giving numbers to the government administration. I want like the real numbers. Tell me the actual numbers, not the fake numbers that you give other people.
Yeah, right. And then one last thing, also, some people are going to try to kill me soon.
And I need you to
get my back. Don't let them kill me. And they're like, hey, wait, how much money are you going to give us for that? Classic Tejal style, just kind of talks his way out of an impossible situation. But that whole scene is just so fun, so wacky, so over the top and weird and just delightful. The detail of it, the idea of it.
And the visuals of just, I imagine those rats running in a tornado around them the whole time.
Totally.
I picture like these, points in this like storm sea of vermin of them standing there and them like hitting their shins and just like around the entire room the whole time. Like in my brain, like a very cool, very spooky, and for many people, probably absolutely disgusting, visual.
Just the notion of people sitting calmly while rats are scurrying over them is so disconcerting. Mm-hmm. And we have that wonderful moment where it's either Tejal or Bug. One of them has to walk forward, and they have to like push rats to the side with their feet in order to move forward through the room. It's so evocative. I love it.
So. Thinking about the scene and like this idea of the chief investigator, you still think they're just creeps? Who's the chief investigator? The chief investigator.
I think they're the secret underground yahoos that run the city.
And you think the chief investigator is just another wacko, not like
I do.
The Uber creature that's gonna come literally eat them?
Don't we hang out with her later and she has that weird moment where she's like, she's hanging out with Bug and she like hits on him. Yeah. Isn't that Rucket, the same chick?
Is that the same? Is that the chief investigator?
Rucket is the chief investigator. I thought that was the same.
Oh,
same
you might
woman.
be right.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
All
right. So Brisk goes back and tells Kuro Khan about what he found. And he's like, I need to get 2 swords for this guy. He's like, oh, yeah. I can get 2 swords, no problem. He's like, no, I have better swords for you. Awesome. Come with me. I have a secret stash of swords. He's like, you have a secret weapon stash? He's like, definitely.
Obviously.
Yes.
Who do you think
awesome.
I am?
Yeah. And by the way, that whole scene where he comes in and he's like dissecting a crab. He's like, oh wow, what is he learning about the innards of this crab? And he's like, yes, and he tosses it in a boiling pot. He's just cooking, It's just so great.
There's like, the Seda and Bug both. There's like have like a similar energy, at least with regard to like. I like how many weird scenes we have of people cooking weird stuff, like
mad geniuses.
I mentioned it last week, but like this is the most like talking about food and what they're eating and like this, like it's like just a nice little glimpse.
It's delightful.
I like it.
Yeah, and everything that Kuro-kan does is not what he's actually doing. It's all like I'm doing this incredibly wild experiment. He's like, nah, I'm just cooking. It's like, oh, do you want me to drink the potion? Yeah, drink the potion. That was just so funny.
I thought you'd like it. You didn't? It was bad? Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
You'll probably throw it. So they go to the subterranean chamber Briss didn't even know existed. They get down there and he's like, okay, I got all these awesome swords and awesome weapons. They're all magical. They're all cursed. He's like, cursed? Yes, they're cursed. And they find this weapon that makes a horrible sound every time you use it. He's like, it sounds like a dying goat. He's like, this one is called Glory Goat.
So I love that he wasn't like, it's called Glory Goat. He's like, that seems like it would sound like that. Or like, I think he hits it. And so they actually hear it like the one time. And then he's like, all right, what's this say? Glory Goat. Oh, well, at least they knew.
I mean, again, I know I keep saying this, but again, very D&D, this scene. Just so beautifully. You found an awesome sword. Yes, it is cursed. What's it cursed? It's cursed to sound like a dying goat every time you use it. Good news, it repairs itself. Bad news, it's going to annoy you every time you swing it. Just so
I can't wait
delightful.
until we inevitably get like a scene where in the background they're like, what is that? The sound of a goat? And then we just know that, havoc is being wreaked off camera.
It's so good. And then there's the second sword is a left-handed sword, which is like, I mean, I guess that is a thing, but it's still funny to me as a left-handed person. It's called Sarat Wept. And he's like, what's the curse on this one? He's like, well, it shatters when the wielder dies. He's like, well, how come it hasn't shattered yet? He's like, oh, it does. The curse was very bad, very poorly made. So it doesn't do the.
It doesn't do the curse. It was cursed, but
just a badly applied curse.
Botched curse. So it's
funny.
just a sword.
And then there's like this ominous moment where at the end he's like, the one thing Briss didn't tell Kuro-kan is that Kettle was dead, which is going to lead to some terrible things. So it's like, what? What does that mean?
It's just one of the things where it's like, I guess through some of his premonitions, his casting of the tiles or whatever, he would have changed his mind about giving these weapons away. But interesting.
Dun, dun, dun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Chapter 13 starts. We're almost an hour in. We did one of 3 chapters. We're all right. We're doing good. Here we go. Chapter 13 starts with Udnas and the world's most awkward sex scene, where Udnas is just standing in the corner like, I really don't want to be here for this.
I guess I gotta witness this.
Oh man. And the golden boner, which is very funny to me.
The coins falling to the ground.
Just pop, 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 pop.
It's like haunting because it's so gross. Like he's taken his brother's wife, but then that is hilarious. But like it is like, but he's like horrifying. He's covered in these coins. It's like, it's like so gross and so funny.
He's literally like, all right, lay down. No, hang on a second. I'm too heavy. I will crush you with my all the coin weight on my body. So foul.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And the Feather Witch is not handling it well or not taking it well.
I think it's so interesting how much she blames Udnas.
Yeah. She really hates him.
She really hates him.
Yeah.
I think it's like a fine line between love and hate. Or at least I used to think that. But like the fact that she's like, this is your fault. I'm kind of like, well, it's like pretty unfair.
I know. I mean, it's not really his fault.
He didn't like res him.
Yeah. He just he did what he was told.
He actually was like almost ensuring that he would die, but then somehow he didn't. So.
Yeah. Anyway, so Udnas pulls Featherwitch to the side and is like, you really have to be quiet because
keep it together.
It's going to be bad for you mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, you're going to do the same thing to me. He's like, no, I'm not, but I am also your only chance at freedom. And also, Rulad has the power of the Shadow Wraiths now. He can command all the Shadow Wraiths. So things are going to get real dark. So you better decide what you're going to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she eventually Rulad's like, can you get that lady? Shut up. Stop crying.
Yeah.
And so they sort of eject. But it's interesting, her distress at I don't know, Featherwitch, because she's got some magic. She got some premonition. We know that she knows more because of whatever sort of status she holds. And then
she reads the tiles, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also a mystery to her. Saren was like, was it Saren who was like Featherwitch?
Yes. She's like, that name, I know that name.
Featherwitch?
Yeah.
There's, some
something
indeterminate amount of knowledge that she holds that's going on there.
Yes.
But where she's placing blame through this and how she's sort of releasing her anguish, even on Mayan, who is just dutifully being who she is, but the potential of her finding enjoyment through a horrible situation of just the physical pleasure of sex.
Yeah.
She's horrified by that too. But it's what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I can understand. I mean, at a certain point, it's just an awful thing. And then she's like, this guy is so awful and what he's doing to her is awful. And she's going to enjoy it. I can understand her position to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is just
yucky.
So then we check in with somebody we haven't seen in a long time. Hull comes stumbling out of the forest and is like, hey, Saren.
What I miss? Everything's normal?
Yeah. She was like, oh, I got some things I need to recap. So you missed a few ticks. But he's been off finding stuff.
Himself.
He went to, finding himself. But he also went to the Stone Bowl. He found Scabandari, Blood Eyes, Shattered Skull. Put that together. Was like, oh, this is the whole basis of their entire religion right here. Found it.
And all of the footprints. He's a bunch of people had been there.
Yes.
At least 2 different groups had been there at some point. And he's sort of putting together that people might have been disillusioned to something because of the Stone Bowl. Yes.
He also went to the city to the north where he found piles of bones that the Narek grind into medicinal powder, which is kind of gross, but, not unprecedented. And she's like, no, dude, you don't even understand. He's like, yeah, this is going to be a war and Hanan Mosag's not going to be able to handle it as, the leader that we all know he is. And she's like, oh,
right.
You really need to listen for a second. Not the leader anymore. In fact, there's an emperor now, and he's like, "What the what?"
He's like, "Yeah, Hanan." He straight up bowed almost instantaneously. Actually,
yeah. He's like,
We're
"That
all
doesn't
surprised.
sound like him."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay, I don't know if Hull is the threat that he used to be anymore." He's like, "I'm going to the meeting." She's like, "All right, let's go to the meeting. I don't want to go. Let's just go." And they go to the meeting. Prince Quillis, Nifidus, everybody's there having another awkward meeting. He's like, I just want to kill everybody, Prince Quillis. I just want to kill all the Edur. Nifidus is like, maybe a bad idea. Let me talk to Hull.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, why don't we all go and talk to the Emperor and figure this out? And she's like, why would you want us to come? They all go.
Mm-hmm.
Roulade basically says, I don't care about anything you're saying, and we're just going to war against you.
Well, I liked Roulade coming up, and like they all go, and the Roulade's like, "All right, who are you? Why are you here?" And he's like, I'm just watching." He's like, "Okay, well, go over there. Who are you?
Yeah.
Why are you here?" And she's like,
So funny.
I'm just telling you, I'm gonna leave." He's like, "Well, then go over there. What's
You
next?"
stand there. You did. It's so funny.
Like this line of people, "Okay, you, we'd like to negotiate." He's like, "Absolutely not." They're like, "Great. Well, bye then."
He's like, just want you to know, I am going to war with you. And they're like, oh. He's like, yes, so you're dismissed. We'll probably talk again under very different circumstances.
Not going to be quite like this.
Yeah, he's
But,
like, I'm going to leave now and prepare for the war that you're waging on us.
And
Awkward.
Pretty polite, all things considered.
Yeah. And then Hull is like, I pledge myself to your cause, Roulade. Betraying my own people, I will be with you. Roulade is like, all right, I'll accept your fealty. And Saren and Hull have this kind of awkward goodbye where she's like, well, I guess this is the last time I see that guy. That really did not go the way I wanted it to.
Yeah. And Saren's last meeting with Hull, I got the idea that they were together in the past, and it's pretty clear that they have some kind of romance. But it seemed like it was a lot deeper than sort of before, where I was like, oh, they were probably like lovers and they had like crushes on each other. But then it sort of seemed like they were on the verge of marriage, and Hull was like, I couldn't commit. So,
well, it's funny how Saren has two of basically the same moment where she's like, things could have gone just a little differently. I could have been with this guy, with Hull. And then later on with Troll Sengar, she's like, things had gone just a little bit differently. I could have been with this guy. Hull and Troll, she's got a type, and it's Ull.
It's Ull. People whose names rhyme.
Anyway, so she comes striding out, comes running smack dab into Fanad Garen Ebericht, who's like, I'm here. And I want to talk to Hull. And she's like, no, you're going to murder Hull. He's like, murder? Me?
What? Is it?
Why would you think that? Only because I've murdered 3,000 people this year?
3,000 people. Well, I know we're going to like get to that, but like, the number too high.
Where do you find the time?
How long is the year? How many per day is that?
That's like Wilt Chamberlain sex numbers. You know what I'm saying?
There's not enough minutes in the day. You got like your 3 daily.
Logistically difficult to pull off. Anyway, he's like, I would never, I don't want to kill Hull. I had just made a promise that I would say hi to him.
I just wanted to share a couple words with my sword.
That's right. And then they have this awesome exchange that I absolutely loved, where she's like, the war is going to happen. It doesn't even matter what you do anymore. He's like, Yeah, she's like, this dude is an emperor now. He's got wraiths. He's going to totally mess up the Lotharii. He's like, no, Lotharii will have no problems. She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, we don't destroy people with military might. We destroy them with capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism will eat your face. It's the most potent force ever conceived, and it will destroy them. And we will reign supreme in one way or another. And I just love how he lays it all out. And it's just so awesome and so so relevant to today, to what's, the world we live in.
I felt like that section I highlighted, and maybe I left it highlighted as like one of my favorite sentences. But then I was like, it just isn't. It is relevant. But I am so mad, like every time I think about the existence of capitalism that I'm like, I can't even pick this as my favorite sentence because it's like too real, which means it probably should be, but it just, it's like so annoying how real it feels to read about it. Yeah. And it just, it makes me stop and be like, why are we doing this?
I just love how
it's like I'm having like a crisis.
well, and how smug Ebericht is about it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, well, I have nothing to worry about because this thing will destroy them. It will squeeze the life out of them. It will turn them into the monster. It's more potent than them. And it isn't even something that we have to leverage. It just will happen on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Because it utilizes, it leverages the best and worst of people's own proclivities, you know, their own impulses. Incredible. So true. All right, then we're back to Udnas, who's like, literally was just watched all that. We have this whole scene, like it's so intense, and then we cut to the guy in the corner like, nobody noticed I was here the whole time. Nobody even noticed. I'm a slave. I'm a traitor to them, basically, and nobody even noticed me standing here. So funny. And Roulade, you know, he basically starts giving all these commands, and Udna starts noticing him having a spasm of some kind.
Yeah.
Like this crack in the armor. What did you make of that?
To me, it's like he's fully possessed.
Yeah.
And because he said it's like a crack in the armor, and like he could see Roulade.
Yeah, the boy inside
of whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And it's just whoever he is, he is him plus like my guess is fully like crippled god possession of his body. He's just a vessel for this guy. And for whatever reason, him releasing him for a second, whether that's like somebody coming to talk to him and him being, well, hold on 1 second. Yeah. I'm a little busy.
It's the call waiting of possession.
Yes, exactly. He's like having a little coughing fit on the other side, so he hits the mute button and has his moment. Interesting.
Yeah. And then he basically, you know, he has all these, you know, gives all these commands to people. He's super confident. He's like, I'm not going to worry about anything. We're going to destroy them. Hull basically tells them exactly how the Letheri go about their war business. It's like, I got the inside scoop on exactly how they're going to do this so we can be one step ahead of them at any given time. I got all the wraiths. They're going. I got the Denratha, who are basically I'm just slaughtering them as a feint. He's got, you know, the plans upon plans upon plans.
Yeah.
And he's like, should I just be nice to Nifidus? Nifidus seems like a decent dude. No, I'm going to screw all those guys.
Was it in this scene or like maybe the previous one where Hull was like, because Hull's not in this one. There's one moment that I thought was interesting that I didn't neglected to mention, where Hull was like, here's how the Letheri are going to work.
Yeah,
they're going to come and they're going to get your villages. And he like lays out what all their plans would be. And he's like,
yeah.
Interesting. Fine. You're allowed. Dismissed. Yeah. And I think it's Hanan Mosag is like behind a curtain, like,
yes,
my lord. And he's like, that checks out. He basically said everything that you found out. Right. So they already knew all these things. So Hull is not only like less relevant, but also I think it was like a display of the Eater being like vastly more prepared even before the this possession has taken place, like vastly more prepared for this war than I think anybody has sort of given them credit to this point.
Right. But the even cooler thing, I mean, not to skip ahead, but the even cooler thing, and this is to me classic Erikson, where he sets up like the coolest thing and then even undermines that, where we have a traitor telling us all the plans. We had a guy spying and figuring out the plans, so that's corroborated. So we totally have the upper hand. And then later on, you hear the Letheri go, "Oh yeah, we know Hull is telling them all our plans, so we're gonna bet on that and do the exact use that knowledge." I know that they know that I know that they know. You know, it's that moment of like, I clearly can't take the one in front of me.
Yeah.
It's 12-step 4D chess of I know that Hull has been telling them, so we're gonna pretend that we're doing exactly what they think we're doing, but we're using that knowledge to then get them. It's
do
so
that.
smart
Yeah.
and cool. I love it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Anyway, so Roulade basically there's this really interesting moment there where we find out that the aerosol was not truly awakened. So the reason the Narek were so easily conquered was that it wasn't that the Letheri were just awesome at destroying their spirits. It's that the Aerithal wasn't actually truly awakened, but there was something about Mayan blessing them in that scene we talked about a few weeks ago of her like just casually going, "Oh yeah, I'll bless they need a blessing. They want a blessing."
Well, they
I'll
said
bless
no. They
them."
wanted a welcome. They just wanted to be welcomed in, and she was like, "Fine, I welcome. I bless your being in our spot." And they were like, "Whoa, that was a little far.
You did what now?
Yeah.
Oh, snap! And,
finally.
Right. So that now has changed things, so that the Narek now are a much more
potent
and dangerous foe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then we head over to see Trull, who's like, "My family, everybody's sad. Fear is in denial. Dad is in denial. Mom is just crying all the time." And Hull is like, I pledge myself to you. And they're like, "Okay, cool." And Trull is like, "Dude, Fear, don't you see? You gave your wife." He's like, "Don't talk about that."
Like, you say that again, I'll kill you. Okay. All right. Anyway.
Touchy.
What does my lord need now?
Yeah. So yeah. Now we're back to Roulade, who dismisses everybody. Is like, "Everybody leave. Even my wife, get out of here. Except for you, Udnas. You stay."
Mm-hmm.
Like, "Tell me what happened again about my death."
Am I a good boy?
Am I a real boy?
Am I a real boy? Tell me.
Yeah.
Udinati.
He's like, "I hear a voice in my head that tells me what to say." And Udnas is like, "Oh, so you're a slave." He's like, "What?" "Yeah, you're indebted like me. He brought you back to life. That's your debt that you have to pay back by being a slave puppet." He's like, "What did you say?" And he's like, "I mean, none of that."
I didn't say. Sorry, I was talking about myself. What did you want me to answer about you? No, you are dope as hell. You are just so cool. You look great.
You know what you need? Good meal. I'm gonna go get you a good meal.
Yeah,
I'll be right back. Forget everything I said.
It doesn't matter if I'm hungry. I'm gonna get. All right. Goodbye.
And he goes over to the other guy and he's like, "Get that guy a meal and make it awesome, because I really said some stuff I probably shouldn't have."
Well, who is this guy? And they're like afraid of Roulade, but they're kind of afraid of Udnas too. He has like a moment with this other slave that I forget that seems
Virik
like he's
guy.
Yeah. Udnas is sort of becoming like a savior type to his people as well, but through the power of him being like, "I'm not scary. I didn't do anything. I didn't accidentally do this. I didn't mean to get elevated."
Well, yeah, they see that he has become the chosen, confidant to the emperor.
Yeah.
And so like, oh, he's scary. And he's like, "You don't have to be afraid of them. You only have to be afraid of the Idur."
Yeah.
And we laugh behind their backs.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. And he's like, "The Feather Witch ran away." He's like, "Yeah, I know. She'll figure it out." And Udnas brings him a meal, and it's so funny. Roulade's like, "People can't think for themselves." And he's like, "Didn't you literally just say that about yourself?"
Didn't you literally just say that something is telling you everything to say at all times, making you seem clever and put together?
So funny.
Interesting that we're the problem. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So funny. But awesome. Dynamic.
Yes.
Then we have that weird moment we talked about earlier between Troll and Saren Pedak, where Troll is like, hey, they meet on the bridge, and he's like, I'm leaving. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I will also leave. Oh, okay, well, then I guess there's no more room in my heart. Bye. And she's like, another that I could have my whole life.
I got it now. I'm just gonna be unrequited that moment I felt like I had to read a couple times because I was like, wait, are they like feeling feelings?
Yeah. I think this
Did that come out of nowhere?
Well, remember that was that moment where Saren Pedak looked at Troll and was like, that dude hot. Remember that?
I do remember that.
That guy's got it going on.
Dang.
And I think Troll in the previous book, which happens later, it says like, I've never been with a lady.
Yeah.
I had a chance to be with a lady once on this bridge where
right on the bridge.
She made eye contact with me and it was super hot.
That's the energy. That's like, if this is his opportunity to have been with somebody, was they made eye contact and he's like, she wants it.
I think
she is, he's right.
But I think that's Troll's whole thing is like, she brushed past me in a crowd and it was too much. I couldn't handle it. I think that's Troll's whole dynamic is like a woman existed in the same room as me for 14 seconds. And so it was all I could do not to explode, We
were basically dating.
Exactly. You don't know her. She
you don't know her like I do. She wears a pink sweater.
It was for me though. I knew it. I could feel it. Yeah. All right. Chapter 14. Somehow we're going to get through 3 chapters. We're going to do it.
I believe.
All right. Bug is called the Waiting Man now. He's got a cool moniker, the Waiting Man.
Mm-hmm.
He's at the Temple of the Fulcra, and basically he finds a diverse there, this reptilian diverse. There's all these dudes outside. They're like, we're not going in there, man. He's like, all right, I'll go in there. They're like, you're going to go in there?
Don't you want an army?
Yeah, totally exactly the same situation. Like,
I also like that he was like walking and there's a dude being like, you don't want to go down that alley, man.
Yeah.
And he walks down the alley and there's like, he comes behind him. He's like, I told you didn't want to go down the alley. And he's like, you called me here. And they're like, okay, we're scared. It was like, we were going to do crime on you. But then we realized that we asked you to be here. So we won't do crime on you. It's fine.
Yeah. You come to the wrong place, pal. You invited me here. I know. I'm terrified.
I killed Bob or whatever the guy's name was.
Yeah. So he meets the pack of reptilian divers, and he's like, "This is a temple that was erected for me. They rule. They worship me." And Bug's like, "You can't be here right now." He's like, "But I'm coming back, and I will eat people." And he's like, "Okay, but just not today." All right, but I'm coming back.
Well, he's also like, he say I'm coming back. He's like, I thought he said, I'm not going back. I'm not leaving because they're killing people out there. So somebody's been going through, I assume these buried Toblakai are killing everybody who's been trapped by the Azath. So my impression is not that he's like, I'm coming back.
Oh, no, you're right. He's staying
like,
in the temple.
He's not
hiding.
leaving.
You're right.
I might eat people, but I'm not leaving this place.
You're right. I had it backwards. He was like, I'm hiding here.
Yeah.
He's like, just leave so the people can use the temple. He's like, no, I'm staying inside. I'm not something. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Sorry, I got that backwards.
No worries. So he's scared of whatever's happening out over yonder.
Yeah. He also, I love Bug is like, all right, so this Azath Tower is dying. That's bad. I hope that's not related to this prophecy. Also, I'm glad I got the construction contract for the Eternal Domicile. And it's awesome how I've sold 4,000% of shares.
I was thinking of like the producers.
Yeah. So good. He's like, I hope nobody finds out because they will murder me. scheme.
A Bug is now Gene Wilder in my brain.
Man, not bad casting. Although we got some really good casting.
We did. I saw
yeah,
Taika
so
Waititi.
Taika Waititi would be so good as Tehal. Perfect.
So good, so good.
All right, so Bug goes to visit Kettle, who is there, and she's like, "Hey, this nice man came and dropped off 2 swords for my friend." He's like, 2 swords for your friend, huh? She's like, "Yeah. Also, I've started feeling pain now, and my heart has been beating." And
like
Bug's
8 times a day, but like
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say, "Oh yeah, by the way, my friend can't leave because there's a lady holding onto his ankles, and she can't. She won't. Wants to escape too, but it's made it really hard for him. But now he's got the swords, and he's going to start sawing."
Ugh. That's got to be Menendore, right?
Boy, I didn't make that connection, but that sounds
because
because
when she's sleeping, she goes, "Those bitches."
Yeah, right. Yeah, she wants to kill all them bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I specifically was thinking like her 2 sisters who were like dragging her unconscious
they
body.
put her there,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Then Briss is back with the king, trying to figure out how they're going to wage war. And this is that scene I was talking about where he's like, we know Hull told them, so we know that they know, so we know what we know. We can't do what we know because we know they know we know.
So that's the thing about this scene that I actually think, I was waiting till we got here to say that I think I might have misread, is did they go over like what they would have done? Because Hull was like, they're going to come for the villages. And then in this scene, I thought they said, we're going to go for the villages.
I don't remember Hull saying they're going to come for the villages. Maybe you caught that and I didn't. My take was they said what they'll never suspect is that we'll go for the villages, which is exactly why we're going to do it.
Yeah. So
Hull, Hull does know. I don't know.
So Hull, I thought that he was like, here's the thing. Their plan is that they would go and crush your supply lines and stuff like that. And so they'll come in behind you and crush all of the things, and then they'll eventually encircle you, so there's no way of you getting out, and then they just collapse and they crush you.
Right.
That is their plan. And so maybe I'm conflating them going for the villages as going for the supply lines. And so maybe they're going like further back. But I do believe Hull said that they will try and get behind you and hit you from all sides. And so...
But I thought that was in boats. I thought they were like...
No, they specifically said they know that they have like greater boat power or something like that than other people. And so nobody's going to come at them from boats. And so they will come at them on land. The war that they actually need to care about is on land, and they will be prepared for that.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know who has the upper hand at this point, but it's pretty cool. The machinations of everybody assuming what everybody else knows. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes.
So then we have this awesome scene with Bug, who sits down with Rucket, the chief investigator of the Ratcatchers Guild.
Okay.
And they have this amazing back and forth where he's like, I got this eel. She's like, this is a nice place. You don't need to bring your own eel. It's like, oh, sorry. Okay, well, I also have this 2-headed insect that I think is really cool. She's like, what is wrong with you? And Rucket, talks about there's a lot of people getting killed. In fact, Garen Eberecht has killed about 3,000 people this year, which we already said is excessive. It's excessive. And he's like, can I take the wine and the cat bones home? And she's like, yeah. In fact, you're so hot. I want you so bad. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, everything about you is awesome. In fact, bodily fluids are awesome. And it makes me want to throw up on you and phlegm you. And he's like, I'm out of here.
Every fluid is a sexy fluid.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, well, because like the description of like the other rat catchers folks, you're like, oh, this person's disgusting as well.
Yeah, I buy it. I buy this as a legit behavior for her. Her kink, yeah. No questions from me.
And then, Bug leaves and she's like, gets him every time. Nobody
good.
wants somebody coming on that strong. And she was like, I'm actually proud that I kept myself together because
Yeah.
I was disgusted by what I said.
Yes.
And
And
then
then
Bug leaves and he's like, that was a good performance. She did
she's
like
good.
I think
To me,
Tejo will like her.
in a nutshell, this is the microcosm encapsulation of Erikson to me. Like, this is what makes him next level from a, micro plot perspective. Is this is everything he does, where it's like the coolest thing you've ever seen. I totally buy it. Standalone, no notes, nothing else needed. Oh, the other person completely undermines it, but that also is undermined. Like, the layers of I know what you know that I know that you know. It's never as simple. It would be awesome just in and of itself, but the fact that she was just doing it as a feint, and that then he knew she was doing it as a feint, and that makes him respect her more. That's why he's like working at a level that nobody works at, in my opinion.
I love it because thinking all the way back to Gardens of the Moon, there were moments that were doing that same thing, but like a little bit more at arm's length, where it'd be like just descriptions of things and you'd have to kind of put the pieces together. Like, oh, he knew because he knew that person already, blah, 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 blah. The refinement of this and like the execution of it being like, it's just like as it goes along. I agree with you that this is like an Erikson awesome thing that happens in different ways all the time, of the subversion of the subversion. It's like, and I just love that it has gotten to this place.
It exceeds expectation, subverts expectation, and then subverts that expectation. It's just completely brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. So then we have this scene with Tehal and the three ladies. They're like, Ublala has left. What do we even have to live for anymore? They're excuse me. They're ticked at him as usual. But he's like, you ladies are wildly rich. He's like, what? What, we are? So again, he deftly, dodges their anger and gets them to shut up, basically.
These three ladies, it always seems like he's just like, and what's that over there? Wow, look at that. Wow, shiny. Ooh. Totally. And then like, they're like children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's constantly just keeping balls in the air, just juggling. It's so great to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shirkalali shows up and is complaining about Harless. She's like, you got to get this dude some fangs and sharp nails. He won't shut up
about his teeth, bro.
Yeah. And she's like, and also, I want to steal something. I'm a thief. I need to steal something. He's like, okay, here's 2 impossible missions. Should you choose to accept them?
I love that he framed it that way, because we saw, Shirk's like, I'm going to go rob Jaren Ebrecht because that guy sucks.
Yeah.
And on her mission, she was like, it's basically impregnable, practically impossible mission. Exactly my favorite type. Yeah. And so then Tehal being like, I have 2, but they're both impossible. Like, it's one of those moments where I'm like, I know that he knows that is like her trap card. That's the thing that's actually going to inspire her the most, is the more challenging that he says that it is. The fact that he's like, I couldn't.
Yeah. There's no way you could do it. This is impossible. I mean, I don't even know why I'm bringing it up, because it's impossible.
Literally nobody could ever do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is great.
And then I love how Shirk is like, I want to be a pirate. We all want to be pirates. Ublala, Harless. We want to be an undead pirate ship. I was like, oh yeah, sick. Undead pirate ship. Spin-off novels. Let's do this. Then we're back with Kettle, who is journeying with her friend into the Fork Sail underground city, which is this really fascinating description of their culture being obsessed with balance to the point where everything has to have its inverse, which I thought was really, really a cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
That like the entire raison d'etre for the Fork Sail, their entire focus and intention is just to correct everybody, just be
actually
insufferable, just like, well, you're kind of leaning too far in that direction, so we're going to have to murder people over here. We don't want to. but that's what we have to keep the balance.
Mm-hmm.
I thought very interesting.
Yeah.
And then we have this crazy revelation that Kettle has 2 souls inside her. A Forquil Assail soul.
We got a couple multi-souled individuals in this book.
Yeah, totally. And mostly children.
Oh, I mean, I didn't even think about, Silver Fox from before and the Kettle, but Udnas as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is the Wyvil a soul? I guess it is. But I was definitely thinking more of Silver Fox.
And Rulad.
Yeah. Yeah. But so the Azath Tower wants to use Kettle. And their soul, we don't know what that's about yet.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty intense revelation about Kettle. Kettle's much more important than I ever thought she was going to be.
I know. I really like that she starts as sort of like, I ate somebody in an alley so that they didn't kill the other guy.
Yeah.
And now like this big part of the book. I also find it very interesting just because correct me if I'm wrong, the Forquil Assail have been mentioned throughout the other books as like big baddies from yore.
Yes.
Like they were the ones before the Jaghut became tyrants. Yes. So they
were one of the original races. Yeah.
But then they were also like original tyrants. And that's why the Talana Mas were like, we got to kill them. And then they were like, now the Jaghut are tyrants, and we got to kill them. Right?
Right.
And so the fact that they're like, oh, Forquil Assail, even the fact that everybody's like, oh, the Forquil Assail, they seem like chill about it is like interesting to me in contrast with however they've ever been brought up in the previous novels. So I feel like the fact that she has this Forquil Assail soul, I'm like, isn't that like really bad?
Yeah, it seems super intense. And also it feels like the reason they were originally tyrants is because they were just imposing their balance on everything. They're just like, the way we want it to be is the way it has to be. So we'll do whatever it takes to maintain both sides. Both sidesism.
Yeah.
And we also, the nameless ones are brought up again, which we know have a ton about.
Well, she is the nameless one. She the OG nameless one.
Who, Kettle?
Yeah.
I did not get that.
She was like, they're calling me a name. What are they calling you? Nameless. Is that because they don't know your name, or is that the name they're calling you? She's like, that's the name they're calling me.
Well, because the soul in her is a nameless one's soul.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. That seems big. So they think that she's the child of Ares, right? That's what the Narek witches think?
Maybe. This is where like some of the details start like sliding off my brain in the way that I'm like, I know we'll get there, and then I'll put the pieces together. But there's so many little things that I'm like, she's important. She got that.
Super important. Yeah.
That she's a nameless one.
Yeah.
And she's becoming alive again. Question mark?
Yeah. Big reveal there.
Yeah.
So then we just have this kind of funny scene where Bug is back cooking what he thought was an eel, and is just the soul of a sandal.
Oh my gosh. So ridiculous. So ridiculous.
So great. And Briss comes in and is like, hey, Tehal, Hull just swore allegiance to the Tistidur Emperor. And so people are probably going to come to kill us, his brothers. And he's like, Tehal, you need to have some bodyguards. He's like, how many? A lot. Okay, one. He's like, all right.
It's so interesting because Tehal being like, nah. But we know that he had already talked to the Rat Catchers Guild to be like, people are going to try and kill me soon.
Exactly.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. One step ahead, Tehal.
Yeah. But then him being like, oh, these guards, as long as they don't snore. And he's like, they're not going to be sleeping. They're going to be guarding. Like,
so good.
So ridiculous. And then them like talking about this stupid soup. It's like,
I know.
Briss coming in. It's like, those are the moments where Briss seems like the one who's like got it all together. And like seeing like these brothers in these different circumstances, from him being like, I'm the guy, to being like, I will drink the potion. What is it going to do? Oh, I'm ready for it to kick in. It's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about there. You don't like, you're out of your depth in these spots. It's like very interesting to see them compared to other people in these different situations and how their various qualities reflect in those different lights. It
also feels like, their id, ego, and super ego, right?
Yeah.
Like Tehal is id, Hull is ego, and Briss is super ego. He's like, I gotta, so good. Awesome chapters. We're headed to war. I don't know what that's going to look like.
Yep.
But I feel like the second half of this book, we're past 50%, according to my Kindle. And so I think war is a coming.
War is a coming, and I have no idea what shape it'll take. The Wraiths, we didn't really mention it. The Wraiths have been sent ahead.
Yeah.
They're like, war is going to come sooner than I think people think.
Yeah.
And all of the Wraiths have been called, whatever that means.
All the Wraiths.
They're all there, except for Silka's Ruin, who's like hanging out with Udanos, like, I'm fine.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens next. Let's talk about our favorite passages. I have several, but it's kind of all from the same area.
I was like, I don't know if I highlight that much. And then I'm like, no, I highlight a ton.
Do you want to start?
Yes, I do.
All right, go for it.
So I'll start with this one because I had to. I loved it. It's a description of the Scale House, which is the Ratcatcher Guild's house. Yeah. Scale House was tall and narrow, squeezed between two massive stone edifices, one a temple archive and the other the monolithic heart of the Guild of Street Inspectors. A few generations past, a particularly skilled stone carver had dressed the limestone facade and formal column-flanked entrance with lovingly rendered rats. In multitudes almost beyond counting, cavorting rats, dancing rats, fornicating rats, rats at war, at rest, rats feasting on corpses, swarming feast-laden tabletops amid sleeping mongrels and drunk servants. Scaly tails formed intricate borders to the scenes, and in some strange way it seemed to Bug as he climbed the steps that the rats were in motion, at the corner of his vision, moving, writhing, grinning.
So good.
Cute.
All the rats. And I thought, they drew rats on the wall. I get it. That's cool. Not suspecting there would also be rats in the room with everybody. Yeah.
Moving and writhing and grinning.
Yeah. This is kind of a rumination on what sounds like our world, but is theirs. Do not seek to find hope among your leaders. They are the repositories of poison. Their interest in you extends only so far as their ability to control you. From you, they seek duty and obedience, and they will ply you with the language of stirring faith. They seek followers, and woe to those who question or voice challenge. Civilization after civilization, it is the same. The world falls to tyranny with a whisper. The frightened are ever keen to bow to a perceived necessity, in the belief that necessity forces conformity, and conformity a certain stability. In a world shaped into conformity, dissidents stand out and are easily branded and dealt with. There is no multitude of perspectives, no dialogue. The victim assumes the face of the tyrant, self-righteous and intransigent. And wars breed like vermin, and people die.
I also highlighted that as one of my passages. It's so good.
Pretty awesome.
We might be playing a little hopscotch here, basically, this scene, because my next one is just a couple paragraphs down from that.
That's awesome.
So continuing that scene, your legacy of crushed culture speaks its own truth. You intend to conquer the Tistidur. You claim that each circumstance is different, unique, but it is neither different nor unique. It is all the same. Your military might proves the virtue of your cause, but I tell you this, Bris Benedict, there is no such thing as destiny. Victory is not inevitable. Your enemy lies in waiting in your midst. Your enemy hides without need for disguise. When belligerence and implied threat are sufficient to cause your gaze to shy away, it speaks your language, takes your words, and uses them against you. It mocks your belief in truths, for it has made itself the arbiter of those truths. Lether is not a tyranny. You assume the spirit of your civilization is personified in your benign king. It is not. Your king exists because it is deemed permissible that he exist. You are ruled by greed, a monstrous tyrant lit gold with glory. It cannot be defeated, only annihilated. Another gesture towards the fiery chaos below. That is your only hope of salvation, Bris Benedict. For greed kills itself. When there is nothing left to hoard, when the countless legions of laborers are naught but bones, when the grisly face of starvation is revealed within the mirror.
It's the world today. It's an election year, and my goodness, is that appropriate?
Yeah. Dang.
Too appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I only have one more, and it is a single sentence. And I think it's the answer to what you just read and what I just read.
Mm-hmm.
I love this sentence. Hope persists, and its voice is compassion and honest doubt.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Hope persists, and its voice is compassion and honest doubt.
I have a couple more, but
Okay.
I like ending with that.
Well, lovely.
Lovely.
Incredible, fun stuff. Thank you, folks, for hanging out with us. Continue, please, to send those topic suggestions for the beginning of the show and your feedback. We love getting it from you. dlcfeedback@gmail.com, here on the YouTube, or in our Discord, 5x5 DLC on Discord. We're back to doing 2 chapters next week. Gonna be fun. We'll see you then.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your